All right, I'll save this and go back to the contact form. And we'll add a new selector here for comments. Now remember, we're using the ampersand to pull in this selector and merge it with the following text. So we have a lot going on here. So we have a different background color. So let's set that background color. And let's look at our variables to see what would be a good match here. It seems like light gray is probably the best fit right now. So let's use our light gray. Again, the reason why we're using the variable is to maintain a consistent color palette throughout the site. And then for the border color, let's do a couple steps up in darkness. So we had light gray. Let's try medium dark gray. And we'll use the border shorthand because we're going to draw the same border around all four sides. Let's put the color in. We'll set it to 1 pixels wide, and we'll set the style to solid. So now the width of this is going to be the same as the submit button. And so we could set it manually here. And if we did that, it would make sense to pull the value out into a variable since we're using it in 2 different places. But if we go back to the design, every element is going to be this width. And when you see multiple elements grouped together with a similar width, then that's a good indicator that we might want to use a container element to size them all instead of sizing them individually. So why don't we switch over to sizing the contact form instead of the individual elements? So let's jump back to the editor. And instead of sizing the submit button here, let's just take this style and put it directly in the contact form. Now let's save this and preview it. Okay, so we changed the width of the contact form, but our elements didn't automatically stretch to fit the whole area. What we can do is give it a width of 100%. Let's try that. So we'll do width 100%. Let's save this, jump back to the browser and refresh. And there we go, we get the width that we're looking for. Now what using a percentage does is it checks the size of the containing element, in this case it's the form, and so if it's 100%, it will be 100% of that size, which is going to be 472 pixels. So we can do the same thing with our text area. Let's just copy this, paste it in the text area, save it and refresh. And now it looks pretty close, but it stretches over just a little bit. And if we inspected this element, we could see why. So if we hover over, you can see that there's a little bit of kind of a greenish border around the outside. And if we scroll down to look at the box model down here, we'd see that it's 1 pixel of border and then 2 pixels of padding. Now before, when we were dealing with our circle icons, we ran into the problem of setting the height of an item and then adding padding to it, and the padding actually extending the height further. And the way that we solved this problem was by setting a CSS property called box sizing so that any padding or border gets added to the inside of the width instead of the outside. So if we did that here, I'm going to scroll up to where we can edit the styles for this input, and we change the box sizing to border box, you'd see that the width falls in line with the width of the input now. Okay, so let's commit that to our CSS. We'll change the border sizing here. We'll change the box sizing to border box. And it looks like this should be a different height. Let's measure that really quick. So we want it to be about 145 pixels high. So let's set the height here. And we'll do REM. So we'll use the PX to REM and we'll pass it 45 pixels. The border looks a little bit dark. So let's go back to our variables and let's use medium gray instead and see if that works any better. And if we added text in here, we'd see that there's some differences between how this text looks and this text. First of all, there's no padding between the edges of the element and the edge of the text. So let's play with that a little bit. I'm going to set a bigger height just in the browser. And then let's add some padding in here. So it looks like our left padding is going to be about 28 pixels and our top padding will be 15. So 15 and 28. Padding, we'll do 15 pixels and then 28 pixels. All right, so that insets the text a bit. And because we're using box sizing border box, the padding is being subtracted from the width instead of added to it. And then the font size is a bit different. Let's type in add comments here just to see what it looks like. All right, so I'm gonna go down here and play with the font size a bit. Let's give it 18 pixels. All right, that looks better. All right, so let's commit that and refresh. So I'm gonna add these styles back over here. So we have padding, 15 pixels, but we'll use rems, and then 28 pixels, again using rems. And just like we did previously, we're only setting 2 numbers because if there's only 2 numbers, the first number will apply to the top and bottom, and the second number will apply to the left and right. And then we'll change the font size to rems as well. We'll give it 18 pixels. And then the height here should be 147 pixels. Let's measure that one more time. That looks about right. All right, we'll save this and refresh. Okay, so it looks like I copied in the wrong colors here. So the background color, we wanted light gray, that's right. And then the border, we wanted medium gray. We'll save this and refresh. Okay, that looks a lot better. And there's our text. Now let's add the rounded corners. Let's play with the border radius here in the browser. Let's try 5 pixels. Okay, that looks right. So I'll add the border radius here, and we'll use rems.